Gentlemen, we will begin in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Okay, good morning, everyone. It is now 8:30, and it's August 1st, 2025. I'm declaring the meeting open. To avoid any disruptions, please silence your cell phones. Public comments will be taken today, August 1st, 2025, in person only. If anyone would like to address this commission, please make sure that you have filled out a form like this. If you haven't, over at that desk page has them. This meeting of the Texas Historical Commission has been properly posted with the Secretary of State's office according to the provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The Commission may discuss and/or take action on any of the items listed on the agenda. We also may go into executive session on any agenda item if it's appropriate. I would like to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, for the record, please state your name and city of residence, starting on my right.
David Gravel, Highland Park.
Lilia Garcia, Raymondville.
John Crane, Dallas.
Laurie Limbacher, Austin.
Garrett Donnelly, Midland.
Pete Peterson, Alpine.
Catherine McKnight, Dallas.
Dick Tips, San Antonio.
Kay Hines, Pleasanton.
Ted Houghton, El Paso.
John Now, Houston. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a quorum present and this meeting is open. We have absences, and if there is no objection, we will excuse the absences of Commissioners Duda, Burdette, and Hagee. Are there any objections? Hearing none, their absences are excused. We will now move to public comments. And I'll say to everyone, we have a number of extremely tight schedules this morning, and for that reason, I will absolutely enforce a 3-minute rule on public comments. I'll apologize up front, but that's the way it is. We are going to start with Tamara Julian, Texas Plains Trails Region. Good morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the Texas Panhandle. My name is Tamara Julian, and I have the privilege of serving as both the director of the River Valley Pioneer Museum in Canadian and as chair of the Hemphill County Historical Commission. I'm honored to stand before you today to express my sincere gratitude to the Texas Historical Commission for your steadfast support of the Texas Plains Trail region. As a relatively new museum director and historical commission chair, stepping into these roles felt a bit like stepping into uncharted territory, but the Texas Plains Trail region, through the vision and resources made possible by the Texas Historical Commission, quickly became my compass. From the very beginning, I found invaluable guidance through the Trail Region's trainings, which don't just offer information, they offered insight, encouragement, and real-world tools that I could take back home and put into practice immediately. These weren't just sessions in a room, they are energizing, hands-on experiences that help me build confidence and competence in this important work. Just as critical has been the sense of the community that the Texas Plains Trail region fosters. Through the networking opportunities they've provided, I've connected with a whole community of professionals who are passionate about preserving, interpreting, and promoting our region's rich history. In a field that can sometimes feel isolating, the network has been a lifeline for me and a source of inspiration. The Texas Historical Commission's support makes all of this possible. You are not only preserving Texas history, you're empowering those of us on the ground to do the work more effectively, more collaboratively, and with greater impact. So on behalf of myself, my museum, and our County Historical Commission, and also so many others who have benefited from the Texas Plains Trail region, thank you. Your support truly makes a difference.
Tamara, I may ask you to come talk to the legislature. That was really good. Thank you. Vicki Hamblew on, what a great town, Happy, Texas?
Yes, sir.
We could have used that in Illinois. All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for coming to the Texas Panhandle, and thank you for your support of our region, of the Heritage Trails program. I serve on the Armstrong County Museum Board, as well as the Texas Plains Trail Region Board, and thank you so very much. We appreciate what you do for us, because we could not do what we do without your support. Thank you.
Well, thank you for what you do, Vicki. Any questions? Pamela Anderson, welcome. A subject update on happenings throughout the Brazos Trail region.
Thank you. Good morning, Pamela Anderson, y'all here. I'm proud to be and serve as Executive Director of the Texas Brazos Trail region. I'm joined here today by members of our leadership team, Sharon Whitaker, who is our treasurer, and our LLC manager, and Robin Schellard, who serves on both our partner advisory task force and editorial team. We're so grateful for the Texas Historical Commission's vision and commitment to the Texas Heritage Trails program. We believe we're showing up, staying engaged, and keeping you informed, because your investment truly makes a difference, and we're here to share how. Our Brazos Trail Boots to the Ground program, now in its second year, and our boots are definitely dusty. This grassroots program keeps us out in the field visiting communities, meeting with stakeholders, forging partnerships, and promoting heritage tourism, one handshake and sometimes a two-step at a time. Just recently, we hosted a partner engagement event in Calvert, Texas, where 9 of our 18 counties were represented. We welcomed over 70 attendees for a day full of heritage education, and behind-the-scenes tours and a true Texas hospitality from small-town Texas. We continue to focus on growing community and county partnerships and collaborations and restoring foundational relationships, including with El Camino Real de los Tejas and the Tonkawa Nation. This spring, we were honored to attend a private and sacred powwow at Red Mountain, an ancestral land the Tonkawa Nation has reclaimed with plans to preserve their history. We've also launched new initiatives aligned with local needs and statewide goals. Our Heritage Youth Volunteer Program engages students in local history and civic pride. Our downtown heritage events are driving foot traffic, economic impact, and vibrant storytelling. And we're getting our brochures into the hands of travelers, from military expos, the governor's summits, to major statewide travel shows, reminding folks that heritage is a reason to stop, stay, and explore. As always, we've shared the latest issue of Authentic Texas with you. So here it is today. The current edition explores the history of Texas courthouses. If you're not yet subscribed, we'd love to see you on the list. It's a good, authentic storytelling Texas style. Heritage tourism is our motto. Our boots are dusty, our calendars are full, and our hearts are filled with purpose and pride. Thank you for letting us share a glimpse of work happening across the Brazos Trail region that is making a difference, powered by your support and driven by community engagement. Thank you.
Well, Pamela, thank you and everyone there for the work you do. Thanks. And Allison Kendrick on the Texas Plains. Allison, good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to bump that up a tiny bit. Not much taller. My name is Allison Kendrick. I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Plains Trail Region. So thank y'all for joining us today. As they mentioned, in the Texas Panhandle, we are the largest of the 10 Heritage Trail regions. I have 52 counties and 50,000 square miles. I have several board members with me today, and I want to thank them for getting up very early and traveling several hundred of those miles. I cannot do the work that I do without such a supportive board, and I am so thankful for them. Since I last spoke to you all in April, we have completed our Leadership and Governance for Rural Museums program in conjunction with the museum services at the THC. We hosted 4 workshops across the region in Canyon, Canadian, Big Spring, and Slayton at the 40th State Historic Site, the Slayton Harvey House. So that was a wonderful kickoff event for our region there. We met with over 45 museum professionals across the region, and then with several more via phone and email. We traveled over 715 miles for those workshops, so we were very fortunate and thankful to be out about in the region, boots on the ground, as Pamela so perfectly coined. So we are actually working on a webinar series as well with that program to extend our reach and be able to provide that to constituents who were not able to attend the in-person workshops. And I have to give a shout out to Laura Casey and Rihanna Hoeft with Museum Services at THC. They have been a dream team to work with, and because of their guidance and leadership, we were also able to bring that workshop into the Pecos Trail region and host 2 workshops with their support as well. So we were excited to continue to impact more of West Texas. One of the other large projects that I'm working on is the Museum on Main Street initiative with Snyder, Texas. We were so excited that they were selected, and I look forward to continuing to build that program. They are doing a wonderful job of heritage tourism initiatives in their county and community, and I'm sure you will actually be hearing from some of them soon because they are looking at pulling the granite off of their courthouse and revealing the original 1911 courthouse structure. So courthouse preservation will probably be hearing from Plains Trail Region. We are working with the National Ranch and Heritage Center in Lubbock to commemorate Quanah Parker Day, the 2nd Saturday in September, and we have been helping them with some of the different exhibits to commemorate that event, and looking forward to that. And as you all know, we are about to be in FY26, so we have been working on our budgets,
scopes of work. We're so excited about some new opportunities provided to us through your partnership and support for next year, and I will be sure to inform you on those at the next commission meeting. Thank you so much for your support, and I appreciate it, and have a safe trip back south.
You've been busy. Thank you. And thank you for the work that you do. Valerie Bates. Valerie, welcome back.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Valerie Bates. I'm the site manager for the Port Isabel Lighthouse. It's my pleasure and honor once again to address this commission, and I'm so inspired by all my partners out there. I'd like to take a look back to 2014 in 5-year increments and a look at visitation for the lighthouse. 2014 to 2018, visitation was about 50,000. The lighthouse transferred to the THC then in 2019. 2019 to 2023, lighthouse visitation was approximately 200,000. Now it will take us less than 2.5 years to reach the next 200,000. While we can't yet make the distinction between a visitor that sees THC messaging, is influenced by other marketing, or just drives by and stops, we do know that the combined efforts of the Communication Division, local marketing, and location have been effective. We also know that the THC's Communication Division has been the only factor that's changed in the last 5 years. Last night, we closed out the 21st season of Lighthouse Establishment Cinema, where movies are projected on the side of the lighthouse. 9 event dates attracted nearly 2,400 spectators. Again, we put together a movie preview that included historical facts and photos of the lighthouse. And this year, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, but we put activities on the back porch that focused on lighthouse history, and so that turned out to be very popular. We're going to expand on that. Summer camp, ours starts next week. We have more registrants this year and some that are returning, so we're excited about that. The Lighthouse is a sponsor of TPWD's Great Outdoor Scavenger Hunt for the 2nd year. More marketing includes flyers in on our restroom doors and everywhere we can think of, have resulted in more participation. Our interpretive master plan and project plans on the site are progressing, as are some exciting logistics for how we can continue to serve our visitors while they pardon our dust. We've started to deliberately deliver historical content on a regular basis through Google Business Profile, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our email newsletter. We're interested in our history and wondered if we really had an audience. We found the media listening, and we gained coverage. This has been very encouraging and inspirational. Now to explore the ways we can maximize that impact. Tales from Tropical. Steve Lanou, incoming board chair, made his first THC quarterly commission meeting yesterday. Unfortunately, he had to leave due to an emergency. But expect that he will be back to carry on the tropical tradition started in 2017. Thank you. Always an honor.
Good morning, Chairman Now, Executive Director Bell, and all the commissioners. Thank you all for making the trip up here to the Plains Trail region. My name is Austin Allison, and I am an assistant librarian at Texas Tech University and the Southwest Collection Special Collections Library there. I'm also the current board chair of the Texas Plains Trail region. I'm here to talk about one of the most effective and vital initiatives that this commission oversees, the Texas Heritage Trails Program. And I want to illustrate its profound importance by focusing on the remarkable success story of the Texas Plains Trail region. When people think of Texas, they might first imagine the Alamo, the Space Center in Houston, or even the Fort Worth Stockyards. But thanks to the Texas Heritage Trails Program and its goal of highlighting every area of the state, the Plains Trail and the area of West Texas are telling their own powerful stories of human progress and history as it happened in this area of the country. And these very stories are being transmitted to countless numbers of people traveling through, to, and within the state. The Texas Plains Trail region isn't just a line on a map. It is a concerted effort of regional community members that connects 52 counties from the top of Texas all the way down to the northern extent of the Permian Basin. It guides visitors to the Quanah Parker Trail to follow the markers to better understand the Native American history of our area. It leads them to the doorsteps of beautifully restored county courthouses, such as the examples in Lipscomb, Clarendon, and Tohoka, and to local museums in towns like Claude, Wellington, Dalhart, Crosbyton, and numerous others. It even brings individuals to share in state historic sites, such as the Charles and Mary Ann Goodnight Ranch Historic Site, and now the Slayton Harvey House. This program is the most important and powerful tool that we have for driving heritage tourism into our rural communities. When individuals explore the Plains Trail region, they don't just see the sights. They eat at the local diners, stay in local hotels, and buy gas and souvenirs in local towns and depend on that revenue. This is an economic development initiative powered by historic preservation. It is a tangible return on investment that strengthens the very fabric of our state. The Texas Heritage Trails program is a national model. It proves that when we invest in telling our own stories, we create something of immense value, not just for ourselves, but for the entire country. It empowers local communities to take pride in their unique heritage and gives them the tools to share it. As you consider the future of the THC's work, I urge you to continue your robust support for this program. It is more than just signs and brochures. It is the connective tissue of our shared memory. It ensures that the legacy of all Texans from every corner of our state is preserved and celebrated for generations to come. Thank you for the time to speak.
Hello. I am so pleased to actually see the Texas Historical Commission gathered before us. My name is Holly Humphreys. I'm the facilitator for the Quanah Parker Trail, and it is thanks to the support of the Cultural Heritage Trails program that we were able to create the Quanah Parker Trail. In 2010, the Texas Plains Trail region sponsored a stamp cancel where for 52 weeks of the year, we visited all of our 52 counties, one county a week. And that formed immeasurably important boots on the ground connections to every one of our rural counties. So what we found is that every museum we went to, every single one had an exhibit of Quanah Parker in their museum, even as clear up as Miami. And we got to thinking, well, you know, this is the last outpost of the Comanches. We were part of Comancheria, as a lot of Texas was, but this was their last stronghold. But there was nothing to tell people of that shared history. So that's why we started the Quanah Parker Trail. And I am here to tell you that thanks to your ongoing support of the Texas Plains Trail region, we are still able to continue to develop that program of the Quanah Parker Trail. Future projects envisioned for the trail will include completion of the granite markers for 80-plus arrows that are in our counties. Wallace Monument, a family-owned business up in Clarendon, provides at cost these granite markers for each arrow to give the public a little hint of why that arrow is there. Every arrow has to have a verified historical reason for being on that site. So we do the commensurate research before that arrow went in the ground. And here are the good stories that resulted from that. I have a few examples. In 2013, November 2nd, right here in Amarillo, we installed an arrow at Wildcat Bluff Nature Center. Lester Crow, an Apache, with his buddy, Elo Hera, showed up. And they passed out programs, and they said, you know, Texas hardly ever does anything to honor Indians, and even though we're Apache and Quanah was a Comanche, we're here to help. And then in 2015, the Chamber of Commerce of Canyon, also near here, contacted our Texas Plains Trail director and said, hey, listen, we've got a whole bunch of Quanah Parker and Wakia, his first official wife, descendants gathered here. Can you guys do something for them? So because we are part of the Texas Plains Trail and we know how to put together an event, we immediately fostered a fabulous series of events for these families. This is Joe Ed Kaufman of Amarillo, who put up a teepee and got himself a horse. And right by the arrow that marks his property in Randall County, he established his granite marker on a pedestal, which the granite marker tells a story of why that arrow is there. It's right there near to the entrance of Palo Duro Canyon. And then we gave a presentation to the Wakia and Quanah descendants, then took them on a caravan down into Palo Duro Canyon to see one of your wonderful Texas historical markers commemorating the Battle of Palo Duro Canyon. And one of the elders came up to us in the end with tears in his eyes and said, we had no idea of our history in this area, because they're scattered all over the United States. Then we get school children involved. Yes, sir. Okay, one more minute. These are all the school children of King County at the 4-6's Ranch, where we put in the arrow in 2016. And then this is little Caden Roca of Carson County, who dressed up as Quanah and gave a speech. And then last but not least, these are all the school children of Wheeler County gathered at the arrow dedication, learning about the hand-brain tanned leather goods created by some of the Comanches still today. In the future, we would like to fund completing our granite markers, developing an instructional unit for 4th and 7th graders about the sustainable lifeways of the indigenous people of our region, and also to replenish, repaint, and refurbish some of our arrows that need a little bit of polish again. Thank you very much for your ongoing support of our Culture Heritage Trails program, because without the Texas Plains Trail Regions program, none of this would have been possible.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. The Texas Historical Commission had a very successful legislative session. Any legislative program can really be divided into two aspects for a state agency. One is appropriations, so the funding for your agency, and then the second is statutory changes that you request or that that you see some issues with. In terms of appropriations, you have two bills. You have the General Appropriations Act, which funds the next two fiscal years. Fiscal year 26 begins on September 1. And then you have the Supplemental Appropriations Bill that can come in and fund this current fiscal year and give you funding for projects. In the Supplemental Appropriations Bill, they funded $100 million for the Historic County Courthouse Grant Program, which is a very significant sum. It's up significantly from what it was a number of years ago. They also, through the advocacy of the chairman, funded $1.5 million for vehicle replacements. As somebody who's very familiar with running large fleets, it's a real point for him to make sure that we are getting the vehicles replaced. And then in the supplemental, they have funded almost $1 million for IT modernization. In the General Appropriations Act, you have your base budget, which funds the agency and your FTEs, and then you have what's called exceptional items, where you come in and say, we would like to include these as well. And you did very well on exceptional items. You got $8.5 million to purchase the Presidio La Bahia, $2.9 million for the first Capital State Historic Site, which I'll talk about more in a second, $2 million for a Texas History Grant Program, and then in the Texas Preservation Trust Fund account, they put $2 million for preservation of Rio Vista Farms in Socorro, $10 million for the Juneteenth Museum of Fort Worth, $3 million for the African American Museum of Dallas for archives and collections management, $5 million for the preservation of Rosenwald schools, which is something that's very important to Representative Gervin Hawkins of San Antonio, $30 million for the restoration of the Ritz Theater in Corpus Christi, $7 million for the Juneteenth Museum of Galveston, and $1.8 million for the Texas Maritime Museum. In addition, something I can say that the chairman is always a ferocious advocate for is funding for the Texas Trails Program. And it's not in our base budget, so we have to go get it every year. And hearing the commentaries this morning, you see why it's so important to the commission and to the chairman. And they did fund it at the requested amount of $1.2 million funding for the Texas Heritage Trails Program. The commission also received 12 new FTEs for historic site staff. As you bring on these new historic sites, we need to get them staffed and have the appropriate visitor engagement. 5 new FTEs for your non-historic site staff. The National Museum of the Pacific War is an adjunct organization under the Historical Commission, was funded at $12 million, and then the Holocaust, Genocide, Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission received a total of $2.5 million. So from we were really pleased from an appropriation standpoint is what we were able to accomplish. And working with the chairman, many of you, and staff, this was very much a collective effort. On legislation, we always have legislative items that we talk about prior to the session of things that we would like to address. And generally what we do is we try to roll those all up into one bill. We call it an omnibus to address ongoing issues, needs of the Texas Historic Commission. And we were successful in passing the omnibus this year. What it does is it streamlines procurement laws for the historic sites. It authorizes affiliate nonprofits such as the Friends and Washington on the Brazos Historical Foundation and others as they come along. It's streamlined distribution from the Historic Infrastructure Sustainability Trust Fund. And really probably most significantly, we transferred responsibility from the Texas Facilities Commission for these approximately 1,500 Civil War and Republic of Texas centennial stone markers and monuments that are placed around the state, which were under the jurisdiction of the Facilities Commission, but they didn't have funding for them, so there was no real effort to preserve them, repair them, and that now has been transferred to the Texas Historical Commission. And as we head towards 2036, we can get those monuments curated and rehabilitated. We also had a separate bill that dealt with cemeteries which did not have any identified owners. And therefore, there were a couple appraisal districts that said those cemeteries, therefore, without identified owners, were not tax exempt and foreclosed on them. So we passed legislation. Vaughn was really instrumental in this, in stating that property tax exemptions are allowed for cemeteries that don't have identifiable owners. And then, as I said, through the leadership of Senator Huffman, legislation to manage and expand the first Capital State Historic Site in West Columbia, that you will build a replica of that site, put it at an appropriate historic location, and then staff that site to commemorate where the first Capitol was. And then finally, this was one that we were not directly involved in, but we certainly watched. The Senate Bill 3059 created an independent Alamo commission consisting of the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker, House member, and a Senate member to oversee the Alamo complex. And so when the General Land Office is concluded with its restoration of the Alamo, then the Alamo will be transferred from the General Land Office to the Alamo complex. So all in all, a very successful session from the Historical Commission. As you know, we are currently in a special session which began on July 21. It will run through August 19th. There is not currently anything dealing with the Historical Commission on the agenda, but obviously we watch. The agenda can be expanded. And then just like to say it's an honor and a privilege to represent the Historical Commission. I've been working with the chairman since 1997 on his various business and philanthropic activities, and it's my privilege to be able to represent the Historical Commission on his behalf and your behalf. So be happy to answer any questions.
John? Yeah. Can we get a historical marker for Robert?
I'm insulted by that.
Well, this is not an insult, but
In order to put Robert
That was my point, Vaughn.
I just wanted to reflect back. You said some of us were involved, and I attended a meeting or two. And I recall when we put the challenge to you of all the things that we were hoping to do, you were like, man, I don't know. But you were remarkably successful, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord. Commissioner. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner Now. Commissioners, it's good to be in front of you again. I'm sure by the time this project is over, you'll see me here with totally gray hair, but finally finished. I want to give you an update on where we are this morning with the Alamo. I also want to send regards from Kate Rogers. She couldn't make it this morning, as you can imagine. Managing one of the largest construction projects in Texas keeps you very busy, and the Alamo is deeply in the midst.
Hey, Patrick, can you move that mic up just a bit? Thank you.
There. So I'm going to start with the next construction project that will be opening at the Alamo, and that's our promenade, and that's what is currently the main street that runs in front of the Mission Church and the new visitor center and museum. And it's currently under construction and will become a pedestrian walkway that will link the north and south ends of the site together with a series of pedestrian locations for eating, resting, and enjoying the site as a non-vehicular site now, a full pedestrian site. So we'll be dedicating that in November, and it is connected in the center by this project, which is the Plaza de Bolero Central Park area, which is right in front of the Menger, and we've installed this very large band shell as part of a public program for use for all sorts of public events. We do our reenactments down there, they do music events down there, there can be public programming down there at any given time. So it really brings the energy across the site by placing this right across the street from the Menger, and is an important part of our programming of the entire site. So that was completed in December and is now well in use. Underneath this site is a 167,000-gallon tank where we use to regain the water from the site for all the landscaping so that we can have a sustainable site, and it's an important part of our long-term goal of making the entire site a sustainable natural site. So that was a major task to put that in before this central park area was complete. There's a very large flagpole in the center of the site that's also going to be used as part of the seasonal decorations for the overall site and the plaza itself. In '24, we also opened the South Gate, the Mission Gate, and Lunette, which interprets the site, the exact site of the South Gate, and it has been a major part of the new interpretation of the overall of the site, and is also part of the historic trails for our statuary that will link the site all the way across. We have a number of very important statues that have been in the gardens, and they'll be moved now and put all the way down the promenade and around the rest of the site. We also just recently installed an augmented reality or a virtual reality program inside the Long Barracks, and it's been very successful. The visitors get the small digital tablets, and it's used to tell stories in and around the Long Barrack, and has been a dynamic way to engage all the audiences and a very successful part of interpretation. It's also an opportunity for us to test that level of interactivity that we'll be able to use around the site and not just at the Long Barracks, because we have such an extensive site to interpret. This is the current construction project, the top two photographs of the Texas Cavaliers Education Center. The Education Center is an important part of the mandate of why we're building this visitor center and museum and interpreting the site, and that's education. All students will come to this facility for orientation before they experience both the site and the visitor center and museum, and that will be complete in March of 2026. So it'll go into operation before the visitor center is open and will be used for not just orientation, but educational programming, all sorts, and there will be a resource library on the second level in this building as well. So that this project is well under construction. Of course, this is our largest construction project to date, and that's the new visitor center and museum, and what you're seeing on the top is the current state of construction. The steel framing to protect the Crockett Block building and the historic Woolworth building are to protect those historic facades, and the central area was where the Palace Theater lobby was. That's now obviously gone and will be the new main lobby for the new visitor center and museum, and you can see the shot below is the perspective of what the ultimate visitor center and museum will look like when all construction is complete. This is an incredibly active and incredibly complicated site because of the historic nature of the buildings and what we discover as you begin both the demolition and new construction. This is a shot of where the construction is today. At the top That's aligned with where the lobby will be in the future, so you can see what the long view is into the lobby, into the gift shop and cafe at the back, and the staircase that links all the way up through all the levels of the building. So it's a fully integrated building as far as circulation is concerned for the visitors. And I want to remind everyone that the lobby space, which is a very large, expansive space, is free to all the visitors, and I'll give you a shot of that in a moment. One of the ongoing projects we have for the lobby is the creation of a series of bronze statuary that will represent all periods of time in history of the Alamo and the site. They are well underway. A number of them are cast already, and a number are in the foundry being cast, and they'll be an important part of the interpretation in the lobby. This is a shot of the current lobby restoration. This building, the Crockett Block, sits on the site of the west wall, and that west wall of the fort is an important part of understanding the extensive nature of the Alamo and how large it was when it was fully occupied as a fort. We'll be doing interpretation along there, and the statuary will be placed along key points on the west wall. This is, again, free to the public, so anyone that wants to come in will have full interpretation of the expansive history of the Alamo and those people who have occupied the site over time. This is just a view on the other side of the building where the new cafe will be. It's on the other side where the Paseo will be. If you know this site, you're about up against the Hyatt garage right here. So this will become an important part of our revenue stream and an important part of keeping visitors on site longer. The length of stay is going to be an important part of building the revenue model for operations and long-term sustainability. A view in the Woolworth building of where the civil rights exhibition will be. The Woolworth building itself, when in full operation, was an important location for the 1960s lunch counter program. There were no protests in this building, but this lunch counter was part of the lunch counter movement, and the important nature of that story is going to come to life in a 5,000 square foot interpreted museum that will be also free for the public. It has its own entrance off the plaza side of the building and off the lobby side. So this will be, again, an important educational opportunity for the students that come to visit the site. At the center of this project, and again, well under construction, is our 4D theater. 4D theater is a separately ticketed experience. It's part of the long-term sustainability as far as our revenue model is concerned. This is a dynamic, one-of-a-kind theater. There is no theater like this anywhere in the United States. It is a series of sweeping layered screens. It'll have a series of effects for the visitors, vibrating seats. We'll have smoke. You'll see sparks in the air when the battle is going on. It'll be an incredibly realistic and dimensional tale of the events of the Battle of the Alamo, and is a staged part of the integrated new construction of the building. So this will be in a newly constructed part of the visitor center and museum. And then many of you have seen a walk through the museum, so I'll make this quick. This is a view into our First Peoples Gallery. Our museum exhibitions are under construction now, so we've hired a contractor to do this work. So all the casework, all the interpretive material is all now going into full fabrication. This is a view at the Mission Era Gallery, a series of not just artifact collections cases, but also dynamic interactives that will establish a different style of storytelling for the visitors and a deeper dive into the content. The Road to Revolution, again, these expansive galleries are wide and are layered with material to handle the audiences that we're going to have in this museum. We're projected to have well over 2 million visitors on an annual basis, which puts the Alamo Museum and Visitor Center as one of the most visited museums in the country based on the projected attendance. The Battle of the Alamo Gallery is our largest space, and it is a very dynamic three-dimensional walk-through theater The build-up to the battle itself becomes part of the immersion as visitors move into this three-dimensional projected gallery. The floors, the walls, and the ceiling will all be projected around the visitor, so the moments of the battle are not only very real, but very dynamic in the way visitors will experience it. There's a post-battle gallery that really explains both the troop movements and where all the events took place during the battle. It's also where we have some of our best collection. Some of the arms and armament will be in there. The diorama model will be reinterpreted with new projection and a new audio system. So it's proven to be an important artifact for visitors currently at the collection center. So we're going to bring it back into the new museum. The next gallery goes from Republic to statehood, an important part of what happened to the Alamo after the battle during the Army era and its transition and relationship to transforming San Antonio. And then from ruin to memorial is really the story of how this site was both saved and reestablished as one of the most important memorial sites in the state, and how it relates to the larger story of not only just San Antonio, but all the other historic sites that are related to the events of the Alamo, including San Jacinto, and how that will be tied into the THC's interpretation of all the historic sites in the state of Texas. It's an important part of getting people to go from here and explore the rest of the state. And then the long-term legacy gallery really looks at the impact of the story of the Alamo on both popular culture and literature and the arts. We have an amazing collection of artifacts that people have collected through time of their memories of the Alamo, including both film and music, and how that legacy has affected people's lives and their memories of the Alamo. Here's a look at the lower Paseo. This is our connection down to the river. The top two photographs of the current construction, so you can see it's well underway. That's an important part of re-engaging the Alamo with the river walk, and that was somewhat lost in the current conditions down there. We really want to bring this back to an important new artery for circulation up and onto the site. And then the upper Paseo, which is behind the new visitor center and museum, you can see off to the upper right photograph. On the left side is the Hyatt Garage. On the right, the visitor center and museum. So that will become, again, an important circulation path, an important part of how visitors will engage with the site, and the narrative of how the acequia ran through this site and made this such a critical site for both the mission and the church. And that's currently where we are in progress. I can tell you that we are on budget and on schedule with construction, and by this time, past this time next year, we'll be topped out and closed in. So they are moving very quickly on site. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, let's deal with the Alamo before we go to San Jacinto. Does the commission have any questions for Patrick?
I have one, John. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I have one. Patrick, in no book history of the Alamo that I've read, was there any reference to the lunette? And where did the historical evidence come from that caused the design to end up the way that it did?
You're going to have to make I'm sorry, David, I'm not sure if I understand your question.
Okay. I have not, in the books that I've read about the Alamo, there's almost never a reference to the lunette at all. And I guess my question is, from what historical evidence did we design the lunette the way that it is? I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just curious.
The historical team did research for almost a year in looking for drawings, maps, and anything that would have a visual that we could begin to interpret off of that. So we did have a lot of historical reference material. And be happy to get that for you if you want to take a look at it. But it took a lot to find anything that was even close to a drawing, but they do exist. We're currently doing research in Spain as well, and Mexico at the archives there to make sure that what we're really looking for are the original drawings of the church if they exist. And we have not found them yet, but we're continuing deep research for that.
Well, if you could put it online, that would be fine. I'm just been curious about it the whole time the Lynette has been discussed.
It's, I think, as close as what our historical narrative can inform us with.
I understand that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I have one. Why, Patrick or John, probably more appropriate, or even Robert, would the Alamo, after its construction, be put under the direction of the governor, lieutenant governor, and senators instead of the Texas Historical Commission?
You want to try to deal?
I'm going to throw that ball back to
Yeah.
Well, I let the
Robert?
I let the trifecta here figure it out. So.
And then I'll give some historical context to that.
They felt that this would be similar to the State Preservation Board, which has custody of the Capitol and the Governor's Mansion and other buildings, and so they see it as a statewide resource of unique significance, and so that was the reason that, similar to the Capitol, that they went this route of the commission.
If you go back a number of years when the Alamo project was just being formed, I was called and asked if the THC wanted to take management. At that point, this agency, in my opinion, wasn't ready to take on that kind of a role. We were just getting into improving some of the sites and didn't have the budget or the staff, I thought. And the worst thing that we could have done was to say yes and then drop the ball. So that's how one of the questions I always have is, or get asked, why isn't this THC? That's the reason. We were not prepared back 8, 9 years ago when that question was raised. We are very involved with the architecture, dealing with Patrick, his team, and legislatively, well, we just had a major briefing with the lieutenant governor. It isn't that the THC is not involved. We're involved. We're just not going to actively manage things.
This is a very large site, and the staff alone is already up over 300 people, and by the time we open, we'll anticipate doubling that. And along with that is coming a 1,000-car parking garage that has to be operated. We're integrating potentially a series of hotels into the project, so it's going to be a complicated project to operate. And I think putting it under a structured management plan, we've built a business plan and an operational plan that should make the Alamo also a sustainable project, so that we don't have to go back to the state for additional revenue and funds, but that does require a very large staff for operations.
Yep. Are there any other questions? Patrick?
So I want to update you today on a master plan that's been underway for about 2 years now on the San Jacinto Monument. The San Jacinto Monument is part of the long-term plan of linking these sites of Texas independence together as a larger narrative. This has been something that the THC has been pushing for, to really get people to understand this trail of Texas independence. And at every site, including the Alamo, we want to have an integrated story that will encourage visitors to go out and explore these other important historic sites around Texas. And obviously, San Jacinto Battleground is one of those sites, and a very important site with regard to not just the story of Texas independence, but also linking in a very important historical monument, one of the largest again in the state. The San Jacinto Battleground is an expansive site that has had over the years a number of different management structures, and now bringing it under the purview of the THC, we can not only manage the interpretation, we can establish a much more integrated budget for operations and sustainability. The attendance here is already surprisingly high and well over 200,000 on an annual basis, and we want to see that grow through the construction of a new interpretive center and creating a new interpretive dialogue with the landscape. While I'm here, I want to thank the team from the San Jacinto Monument who are here today, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any questions. They've been very helpful in this process of really thinking through the site, thinking through the stories, and thinking about how to operate the site, because it is an important part of how visitors will explore this site. So we put together a strategy for how to maintain the site, both the new physical visitor center itself, but the battlefield itself. That's an important part of understanding what took place here and where the Texian camp was, where the Mexican camp was, where the surrender site was, as well as with all the sites that we look at for the THC, looking at financial and operational planning and assess how that will impact the long-term budgets for operations and potential for revenue. And then with all of our work, we are really focused on bringing greater visitorship to the site. So that becomes an important part of considerations in developing interpretive master plans and establishing key goals for the site. We have two different site strategies that I'm going to show you today. They're a little complicated and hard to read, but I'll try to take you through the major elements and what we're proposing. Vista Road, which runs diagonally through the site, which you can see is our longest road, which goes up to the monument itself where the red star is. That's an important historic access point, will be maintained on the site and used for access to parking and access to the new visitor center. An important element down on the lower end of the site along Buffalo Bayou is where the battleship Texas was. It is now gone. We have a very big hole to fill, which we are rapidly trying to get as much fill as we can get on site to fill that location back up again, because that's part of the edge of the Texian camp and an important part of the interpretation of the site. The dotted lines that you see through there will be potentially a new vehicular access path. We want visitors to be able to visit the Texian camp, visit the Mexican camp when the weather is more challenging. So by giving them an opportunity to traverse the site in their car, we think we'll get better access to these very significant sites. And the landscape architecture team is looking at two different options for how that might happen. And along these paths, these new vehicular paths, will be pull-offs, so visitors can pull their car off the main path and get out and engage in the interpretation that will be, say, down at the Texian camp, or up at the Mexican camp, or at the surrender site, which is at the far right-hand upper corner. So you can see it's a long distance, but it's an important part of the most recent acquisition for San Jacinto, and that's the Amante surrender site up in the upper right-hand corner. So the team is really looking at the site as trying to reinterpret an historic battle site. So the troop movements, which you see are the purple arrows coming up through the site, is where the Texians move their troops through and around the monument site itself. That becomes a key part of how we're going to look at interpreting the landscape itself. The potential of removing the reflecting pool, reinstating a natural landscape there so that it's no longer a green mowed lawn, but a natural landscape that will be part of getting visitors to understand what it was like at the time of the battle. Just a long view from the entry site off of Vista Road. Vista Road, again, is that historic road that connects visitors into the site, and that will remain as the main access point into the site. There will be interpretation there as well, so visitors that don't have a lot of time can come and get the larger view of the site and engage in an overall interpretation of why this site is here and why it's so significant. We did also an extensive study to locate a new visitor center. The monument itself is where you see the red dot, and the red dot is where we're proposing the location of a new visitor center. It is currently an amphitheater at the back of the monument. That is considered the formal back of the monument itself. It's the most disturbed landscape around the monument, so we feel like we can do new construction there without any concern for running into historic archaeological materials. You can see the lines of advancement that come up from the Texan camp to the Mexican camp. That's an important part of visitors understanding the strategy of the battle and exactly what happened on this site. So reinterpreting the landscape is an important part of understanding what happened here and engage in outdoor interpretation that will be an extension of what they experience at the new visitor center itself. We'll also be restoring the historic lobby in the building, putting a new elevator in up to the observation site at the top of the monument, and then doing a new temporary exhibition space inside the monument and looking at the overall narrative structure as well. So in the main galleries, we'll be looking at the roots of revolution, the eve of the battle. The 18 minutes of the battle will be an immersive theater, the aftermath and legacy, the history of the monument, which is an important part of visitors understanding why it's here, who built it, and why it's on this battleground itself. And then out on the site and the grounds, interpretation at the Texan camp, Mexican camp, and the surrender site as well. We are now looking at the visitor circulation through both the historic monument into the new building and out on the site. How will students use this? How are we gauging the scale of the new visitor center? It's based both on the dynamic interpretation and what's important in the legacy of the story and getting visitors ready to go out on the site. And then from the site and the monument itself, they will have a temporary gallery inside the monument, and then there's an observation deck on the back of the monument for those who can't navigate the site itself but want to understand what the major landscape elements are and where the camps were located. So we'll have interpretation around the outside of the monument itself. And then from the vehicular perspective, how they engage with each of the campsites and where they're going to park, where we're going to do interpretation, and really get that site to be a much more dynamic and much more understood. It's been a difficult site for visitors to understand, and we want to do everything we can to get them to really engage with the events that took place here, because this is the site of Texas independence and probably one of the most important memorial sites in the state of Texas. So as part of our master plan work, we also do assess with potential visitors what they think of the structure of the storyline, how we're using the site. So we're really looking at what we call visitor takeaways and getting a better understanding of what visitors, again, don't understand and what we want them to learn when they come to this site. So this has been a very enlightening process, and we are ready to move the project into its next level of design, which will be conceptual design for the new interpretive center and conceptual design for the landscape on the site.
Well, a quick comment, something that Patrick mentioned. It is going to be impossible to orient the visitor on the events that took place that day and leave the reflecting pool in place. it is, it's clearly going to have to be removed. And I thought I would bring that up right now. We went out there about a month ago, and we're told that we have some friendly alligators in the reflecting pond. So I have already talked to the Harris County folks about the alligators, but as part of this project, we'll remove the reflecting pond and fix the elevator, which doesn't work all the time. Are there any other questions, comments?
John? I hope this
Yeah.
isn't a bother. I've got two. Peggy's Lake was a big part of this battle, and I seem to recall that there was a problem in retaining a visual of Peggy's Lake. Has that been resolved?
There's currently landscaping programs going on in removal of invasive landscapes so that you can see more of the natural landscape, which potentially would be the lake. And that's going to be part of maintaining the site as well, is trying to keep a natural landscape. It's not as easy as just throwing some wild seed out and hope that it grows the way it looked back at the time of the battle. You have to manage a historic landscape. So part of that is to take away invasive materials so that we can see sites like the lake.
Got it. The other one is Vince's Bridge was also a big part of the battle. Is that going to be a part of the narrative of?
It will be part of the narrative, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You know, there's going to be a major transformation of the park grounds. Reflecting pond, trees, new orientation on roads. You heard yesterday that the town site cemetery has probably been included. And I'm happy to say that we're finally going to move forward on filling up the battleship hole, which is probably the most expensive hole I've ever heard. We have a budget of $40 million to fill in a hole. There'll be no editorial. It's just a big hole. Patrick, anything else from the commission? Thanks for everything you and your team are doing, Patrick.
Thank you for patience and your attention on this. And by the next time, we should be looking at concepts for the new visitor center at San Jacinto and a topped-out visitor center and museum at the Alamo. Thank you.
Thank you and your team. Next, another major project is Levi Jordan, and we are lucky to have Sam Collins here, who is the energy and engine behind this. Welcome.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you all today. As a seventh-generation Texan with roots back to 1837, this history is important to me as it is to you. One of the challenges with our project is it has been seen as an African-American history story, but I want us to change the narrative to make sure that we understand that this is our Texas story. It is all of our story. And we're talking about filling a $40 million hole. There's a hole in the narrative of Texas that we also have to fill. And part of the work of the Levi Jordan plantation is to fill that hole in the narrative. Not to erase anything that has already been said, but to continue to tell the real places telling real stories of Texas. So I want us to focus on our Texas story. When we think about our Texas story, the imagery of the Alamo, Stephen F. Austin, oil and gas, cattle, is often the imagery that we see. But these stories include stories of families, stories of native Texans like Jack Johnson, stories of the diverse population of Texas. So these are not actual THC marketing pieces, but this is an idea I came up to market our Texas story. So what we did with that, in regards to the Levi Jordan plantation, most of the narrative of the owner of the site, Levi Jordan, we know that it was a sugar and cotton plantation. But we are working to about telling the right story, expanding the Texas history narrative to improve heritage tourism, not only to Brazoria, but to the entire state. So when we think about this year was the 160th anniversary of Juneteenth, and we had a special Juneteenth project at the Levi Jordan plantation. But Galveston recently did a report, the Park Board, that this year they had $621 million in earned media related to Juneteenth. They had over 8,500 unique stories around the world about Juneteenth in 21 countries. So Juneteenth is a Texas event that became a national holiday and a worldwide celebration of freedom. So we need to expand on that to improve heritage tourism. Not only are we trying to expand the narrative to tell the correct story, we're talking to descendants like descendants of the Wright family. So we're telling the Wright story. Robert Wright was one of the enslaved people at the Levi Jordan plantation, and his descendants in the imagery there, you can see they came back July 5th for a family reunion that weekend, and I was able to give them a personal tour of the site. We have individuals on the extremes, say in the African American community, that never want to go to a plantation because of the dark history there. We have others on the other extreme that if we start to tell these stories of the enslaved people, they think that we're trying to tarnish the history of Levi Jordan or of Texas. What we're trying to do is fix the cracks in the foundation of our stories to make sure that this house, this Texas home, this American home, will be here for future generations. So there are more stories to be told. How are we engaging individuals? Here's a descendant, Andrew Thompson, that has done an amazing piece of artwork that basically goes from the slave quarters through time, the cotton fields and sugarcane, to the progress of the community in Sweeney and Brazoria there. He was scheduled to do a presentation on the 14th, but it got rained out. The staff there are doing these plantation porch programs every month. The staff is also writing in the Facts newspaper, Brazos Monthly, to tell the history of not only Levi Jordan, but Varner Hogg Plantation. It's not an African-American history, it is just a Texas history. So we have to reschedule this, but here is a descendant who also has history back in the area to 1837, to Joseph Thompson, who was brought here as a 2-year-old enslaved child in 1837 and registered to vote August 1st, 1867. The reason I bring that up is because many of these counties were heavily populated with enslaved people. Brazoria County was over 60%, Matagorda County 70%, Wharton County 80%. So think about being in that county and having that large of a percentage of the population and not having a voice in the political arena or even a voice to be seen as a human being. These individuals during Reconstruction began building their lives after Juneteenth. So one of the projects that you, pamphlets you have in front of you is this anthology of the 2025 Juneteenth project, where we engage the next generation of memory keepers and young people that were primarily descendants of the Wright family. Over 20 of them in the projects are inside that you can see. The kids did public projects that were on display during Juneteenth. The site was open for Juneteenth, so you could look through that later. But this was an important part of engaging the community. Individuals in the community, Robert Williams lives there. In the front, you'll see the names, Natalie Wright Moore Clark, who has done several cooking projects at the Levi Jordan Plantation. Ford Momentum and Maya Ford put this together as a summary of this year's project. Another project, on July 19th, we met with this group of Black History bike riders. On the left is Major Taylor, who is not from Texas, but this legacy of Black cyclists is something that is still celebrated today. These three gentlemen actually did a documentary where they rode from Austin to Galveston in 2023. It's an 18-minute documentary. I can share the link with you. That's on YouTube. But they rode through Prairie View, San Felipe, West Columbia, Brazoria, all the way to Galveston, 350 miles. They had on the plantation porch event on July 19th, and they did a 20-mile bike ride there in Brazoria. So the success stories that we need to tell: politics, Walter Moses Burton, the first black sheriff elected in the entire United States in Fort Bend County. That is a Texas history story. Jesse McGuire Dent, a founding member of Delta Sigma Theta, a Texas native. That is a Texas story. Texas had over 500 freedom colonies. Dr. Andrea Roberts has the Texas Freedom Colonies Project, that we need to tell those stories. On the bike ride, those individuals went through some of those towns that were considered these freedom colonies. And then, of course, with athletics, one of Texas' most famous native sons and Galveston's most famous native son, Jack Johnson. This year was the 115th anniversary of the fight of the century, which was July 4th, 1910, where he beat Jim Jeffries. Jack Johnson is what I consider the first truly world heavyweight champion. He's often identified as the first African-American heavyweight champion, but prior to him winning the title, the other champions would not fight African-Americans, so they had not beat the best competition. When Johnson won the title, he had taken on all comers. So these are the Texas stories that we need to continue to tell. The Levi Jordan staff, the THC staff at the site are doing a great job of stories each month, engaging the community, engaging descendants. I'm going to open it up for question and answer. The next event is going to be August 16th on the plantation porch, a discussion with Matthew John Batiste and this painting that he did that's on the site. As you can see, that's the history at the top, the current generation, and the future. So I'm open to any questions that you may have. Don't be shy now. I know some of this information you may not have learned in your Texas history books, but we're going to work to fill in the gap.
Well, the project and the concept is greatly benefited by your knowledge and your passion, for absolute certain. Now, where are we with this? Total budget for the Visitor Center, which is key to telling this story, is about $13 million. About $5 million or so for planning and construction. We've got $4 million from the trust fund, and then the remainder will be through a fundraising campaign. So, and that's in the budget that we received, and work will get going.
I think there's a great deal of interest in expanding the narrative to tell more success stories. Often when we discuss African-American history, we talk about the dark chapters of slavery, suffering, and abuse. But there are so many more success stories that we have to tell. And I want to thank the Commission for helping us to expand that narrative to tell more of these success stories. I know that Prairie View has the legislation to tell stories at a site there, but what I think we have to do is realize that no one location can tell all the stories. And this is not a singular story of African Americans at the Levi Jordan Plantation. It is a collective story of our shared history, and we need to make this project about our Texas story, and we can move forward telling the complete narrative of our Texas history. Thank you.
If I may say something really quick. First of all, I just want to applaud everything about the way you're saying this is a shared history. This is our Texas history. This is our American history. A big passion for me is South Texas history, and I'm saying south of San Antonio, no offense to San Antonio, but real South Texas. But my thing has always been, we are Texas. We are the U.S. We are part of the whole fabric. And so it's all part of this narrative that I've been trying to tell my students, that I've been advocating throughout South Texas lectures and stuff, that it's all our history. So thank you. You inspired me even more. So thank you.
This year we are coming up on America's 250, so that's a year-long march toward 2026 and the 250th anniversary. You know, here in Texas, our connection to enslavement goes back to 1528, so we're coming up on a 500-year anniversary, with Mustafa Zamori being the first to arrive here in November of 1528. We're also working toward, of course, 2036, when we'll have a 200-year anniversary, and we need to start collecting these stories and telling these stories of our shared history. The Underground Railroad in Texas ran to Mexico. There's a great deal of history there on the border. There are Juneteenth celebrations in Mexico. So this is the history that we need to get in front of our residents and tourists. It is good for heritage tourism. As I stated, $621 million in earned media just on Juneteenth alone related to Galveston. I hadn't even checked on the numbers in Fort Worth, in Austin, in San Antonio, but there is a economic impact on telling these stories all over the state of Texas, and we need to continue to promote heritage tourism to the state, and I look forward to continuing the work that we do together.
Thank you, Sam. At this point, rather than take our standard 15-minute break, we're going to take a 5 or 6 minute break. I am very aware of the schedules that a number of you all have. So it is 9:53. We'll get back here just before 10. Let's take a break. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin in 2 minutes.
John, I think we'll just stick with it and just not do it that way because there's some, we got some items that maybe just better.
Okay.
So, anyway, my idea is a damn good idea, but
Maybe not
on
today.
second thought, it's leave it alone. You start messing with stuff like that.
Might get somebody.
There's the door, Crane.
All right, we have 1 minute. We'll begin in 1 minute. Please take your seats. Okay, we've got some commissioners MIA.
Some of them are missing out.
Yep.
You know, regardless whether they're here or not.
All right, we will go back into session. Some comments on other issues in order to expedite. At the Nimitz, 2 announcements. One, there has been a change of leaders at the Nimitz Foundation. In the interim, General Hagee has moved, with the concurrence of the foundation, has moved back into operating as the executive director. A search has already begun for a new director. You will be receiving a notice of a major event that will be taking place at the Nimitz, probably December 6th. More about that. I was asked twice during the break about the Panhandle Plains Museum in Canyon. The genesis of having the meeting here in Amarillo was, in fact, the potential of having the Panhandle Plains Museum become affiliated in some way with the THC. A couple of months ago, we were informed that the fire marshal had closed the museum due to fire risk and a lack of sprinkling. That situation still exists. It is a big, big dollar issue. That rests with the A&M system. I have spoken to the new chancellor of A&M, expressed our interest in developing an ongoing relationship to help, to help modernize and expand the museum, but that we aren't going to set foot in the museum until the fire marshal closure has been lifted and they have solved that problem. I've spoken with the chancellor and he is aware of the issue with the museum and is beginning to take action. As you recall, he's absolutely brand new to the job. I don't know, Vaughn is still here, Robert has left. In my tenure here, I've never had, or we've never had, a legislative session like this last one. And I will say to the staff, this isn't 100% on the shoulders of Vaughn and Robert, but we could do this because the staff has accomplished so much with almost no pushback from any of the legislators. And that is a compliment, Joseph, you and your staff. That's how come success will breed success, especially in a legislative environment. So now you've got about everything you guys were asking for.
Yes, we did.
Okay, we will also work on location and dates for future meetings. And as I said, we have issues going on at the Nimitz. We also have the Eisenhower. We are working with Union Pacific. They have 3 separate pieces of land, one pretty significant, the other 2 very small, to work on a relationship where we will then take over ownership or at least management of these sites. And more about that to come. And I thought when I talked about Eisenhower, I would also talk about what happened to one of our employees, Lindsay Stroop. I've been up there, I guess, 3 times, and every time she was gracious, wanted to help everyone. We had the mayor and most of the city council in there. She was the glue of the meeting. It is a tragic, horrible situation. She died of her injuries from dog bites, leaves a daughter, 6-year-old daughter, and I know that we will work to appropriately recognize her at the site. And I can only say that a 6-year-old daughter, Lily, is going to need all the help and prayers we can come up with. So the chairman, me, I'll communicate back out. It was so soon that I certainly did not want to inject into the family any questions right now, but I'll do that and then communicate back to the commission. I think we then move. Joy, or you ready? Why don't you go first, and then we'll call on Angelique.
Okay, sounds good. Good morning. I'm Joy Nathan. I'm the Executive Director of the Texas Holocaust, Genocide, and Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission. My chairman, Ken Goldberg, sends his regards and looks forward to seeing you at the fall quarterly meeting. The THGAAC fulfilled our legislative responsibilities and issued 2 reports to the Texas legislature before the start of the 2025 session: the Study on Anti-Semitism in Texas and the Holocaust Remembrance Week Survey Implementation Report. Both reports included recommendations for the legislature. We're pleased that several of our recommendations became laws, including expanding the International Holocaust Remembrance Week Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism in the Texas Educational Code for kindergarten through college, and expanding the nonprofit security grants for churches, synagogues, and schools. Seeing the rise of anti-Semitism across our state, our commission asked the legislature for an increase to our budget for the next biennium. This is one of the exceptional items Robert Miller mentioned, and we appreciate the Texas Historical Commission's help and support securing the one-time ask of $1 million to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses in fiscal year 2026, and a doubling of the THGAAC's operating budget to $1.5 million, which will allow more seamless education for Holocaust, genocide, and anti-Semitism resources across our great state. We're expanding our team and are hiring 2 new full-time employees, a second educator, and a new position, a campus outreach coordinator, to work with high schools and colleges. At our June 4th quarterly meeting in Austin, the THG-AAC commissioners voted to increase and allocate the remaining budget for fiscal year 2025 to $146,900 to educational grants. During the meeting, THG-AAC commissioners reviewed the educational grant applications and the scoring committee recommendations and voted to fund the 5 highest projects. I presented these recommendations during yesterday's executive committee meeting and look forward to the full commission vote on these items later today. Because the overall quality of grant applications was greater than the THG-AAC budget, we tasked the Friends of the THG-AAC to raise separate money to support educational grants. The Friends of the THG-AAC is awarding $93,000 of private funds to support 6 additional grant projects recommended by the Commission. We are working on an updated strategic plan which will include goals and strategies for the next 2 years, and we look forward to sharing it with you in the fall. Finally, our next quarterly meeting is September 3rd in Dallas. That concludes my report.
Questions? Being none, thank you. Appreciate. And the Friends, Angeli.
Good morning, Chairman Now, Commissioners. Thank you for this opportunity. Our board chair, Donna Carter, sends her regrets. She could not be here because of some health issues that she's dealing with right now. But I'm really excited that our board member, Wes Reeves, is here to sit in on this presentation and on the commission.
Is he the board member and cameraman?
Yes, for today. A quick report on our activities over the last quarter and a couple of things that I want to share going forward. Very quickly, as we close out this fiscal year, we received a grant of $5,000 from the Summerlee Foundation for the Nuestra Senora, and Brad Jones, please forgive me if I butcher this, Del Espíritu Santo de Zuniga site. And this is for an archaeological survey that is being conducted by Dr. Tamra Walters of Texas Tech. Brad has more details about this project than I do, but we're really grateful to the Summerlee Foundation for this gift. For CHD, Real Places 2026, we are moving into our sponsorship raising phase for the 10th anniversary of the conference, which is going to be at the Renaissance. We have signed the agreement with the hotel, and Phoenix One is coming back as our title partner for this 10th anniversary as well. We hope to restructure some of our sponsorship opportunities for this milestone conference. We have been engaged in a couple of acquisition projects for historic sites. We completed the acquisition of 5 acres of land addition to the Washington on the Brazos State Historic Site. This was acquired on June 12th, and we're in the process of transferring the property over to THC. And the goal is to do that before the end of this month, before August 31st. We're also working with Washington on the Brazos Historical Foundation to secure the second priority property. That would be second of 3 properties that THC is looking at. And we did request approval for moving forward with this, and look forward to the commission approving that this morning. Bush Family Home, as we discussed yesterday, we're looking at acquiring a piece of property that will close the gap between the existing complex and the adjacent church parking site. Since the creation of this presentation, we have received contact information from the owners, and we're moving forward with that communication as well. Caddo Mounds, as Joseph mentioned yesterday, we have secured several grants, as you all know from previous presentations, and we're holding those funds as we wait for for the movement on this project. In the meantime, the Mellon Foundation and the Meadows Foundation have specifically held our requests. The Meadows has asked us to hold off on submitting a request. The Mellon has our request, and they're holding it because they want to hear more about THC's engagement with the Caddo Nation and the direction that takes, and they're really, really interested in seeing that active partnership happen. And so as that happens, we will circle back with them and move those requests forward. Washington on the Brazos campaign, as I shared with the committee, Historic Sites Committee yesterday, the campaign fundraising goal, the campaign is being led by the Washington on the Brazos Historical Foundation with support from the Friends. The fundraising goal was 10.5 million about, and they have raised about 9.3 million with about 1.1 million left to raise, and there's a lot of activity happening on that front already. These are some of the grants that were secured since the last report in April, from West Texas Gifts, from the Meadows Foundation. There's outreach happening in Amarillo right here and in El Paso. And again, thank you to Wes Reeves for his help here, and Bonnie McKee, our board member in Burnett, who is helping in El Paso as well. And there's outreach happening with members and descendants of the foundation, members of the foundation and descendants, as well as other community members. This is just a list of some pending requests and proposals, upwards of $1.3 million. As I mentioned, they have about 1.1 to raise, and so a lot of activity in this last home stretch of the campaign. Preservation Scholars, this is the meeting where I'm really excited to share with you the update on our Preservation Scholars program each year. For our new commissioners, this is a program where we bring in students from underrepresented backgrounds to expand the voices in the Texas historical narrative to better reflect the community and the state that we serve. And so to that end, we reach out to a broad group of colleges and universities, not just in Texas, but beyond as well, because this program is open to students from Texas, even if they're studying in colleges and universities outside of the state. Our goal was to build a sustainable program. If you recall from a few years ago, we were trying to build our endowments to be able to support a majority of the stipends that we give out to these students, and I'm really thrilled and proud to say that we are there. We have endowments in place that support 6 positions every year. We still have to go out and raise some funds because we're slowly expanding our cohort each year, but we're in a really good place. This year, we had 53 applicants, we had 15 interviews, and we were able to bring in 8 scholars. And just a quick look at our scholars. We have undergraduate and graduate students. Andrea Escalante, who's working with History Programs Division. Alicia Flores, who's our 2025 Larry Oaks Scholar, is working with Community Heritage Development Division. Jose Sparling Garcia is an undergraduate student working with History Programs Division. And these are students that come from a variety of academic backgrounds. Obviously, history, historic preservation is one of them, but we have students that are on the legal track, students of English literature, just all kinds of academic interests. Emma Gomez is a graduate student working on the Undertold History for Travelers project with CHD. Sydney Salazar is our second Larry Oaks Scholar, a graduate student working with the Division of Architecture. Kai Savage is working with History Programs Division on the African American Travel Guide. Brandlin Thompson is working with Historic Sites Division on the Educator Resources. And Evelyn Todd, our 2025 Clay Scholar from Prairie View A&M, is working at Varna Hogg on the Oral History Archives project. Again, these students are brought in to work on existing THC projects and programs, so we don't create anything new for them. They work on projects that THC already has in place. Our virtual events program continues. We had several monthly virtual events in the last quarter, and we have several planned in the next few months as well. The latter part of the year, we focus on historic sites, so that'll be something that we'll bring back to you as well. And then, of course, we continue offering development workshops to support training resources for historic preservation nonprofits across the state. A quick update on our board nominations. The commission later today will approve the renomination of our commission appointees listed on the screen. The board has also nominated a slate of officers for 2026. Donna Carter will continue as our board chair. Aaron Dorfner will continue as our vice chair, Vanessa McElrath as our treasurer, and Sela Casper as our secretary. And then we have two corporate appointees, Terry Colley and Kate Timmy, who will also renew their 3-year term again. We have a new development manager at the Friends, Lorelei Gonzalez, who comes to us with about 15 years of nonprofit experience. Really excited to have her, and she'll be focusing on major gifts and corporate giving. And then a very quick look at our financials, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Being none, thank you.
Thank you.
Please thank your board. And I'll be giving you a call about the results of those letters. All right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. We now move into number 7, the consent items. The commission may approve agenda items 7.1 through 7.8 by a majority vote on a single motion. Any commissioner may request that an item be pulled from this consent agenda for consideration as a separate item. Commissioners, are there any consent items that should be taken into consideration as a separate item? I hear none. There's no objection, so we will approve agenda items 7.1 through 7.8. Do I have a motion to consider approval of the consent items?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8. Our Vice Chair Donnelly, Agency Services Communications. It's all yours.
Thank you, thank you, Chairman. We had a really good report talking about all the administrative services and supporting the staff out in the field. We do have one action item to consider our 2026 annual operating budget, which we heard Robert Miller kind of address a little bit. We were very excited about that, and we've got the revenue sources per strategy here for everybody to see, and it's a big number we're very excited about. And I move to approve the operating budget for fiscal year 2026.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, call for a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. That is. Yes, Antiquities Advisory Board. This is next.
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a really good meeting yesterday, and at this time, I'd like to ask Brad to come forward.
Here I am. Good morning, commissioners. I'm just going to really just want to call out Kay Hines, our new chair. Really appreciate the great work she did, and appreciate the commission for bringing her on board. Just really quickly, we did a series of SAL, State Antiquities Landmark nominations during the AAB meeting. All were approved. They included the expansion of the Kirby Kiln site, as well as 4 additional SAL nominations for properties in Montgomery County, Fayette County, and then the Battle Hall at UT Austin. And then we presented on the permits issued by Architecture and Archaeology. And that concludes my summary of our AAB meeting.
What took so long?
I made too many slides, sorry.
Okay, we now move to archaeology. No, you just did that. The division?
Yeah, you got AIBs.
Yes, we had a good archaeology meeting, and I'll
point.
turn it over to Brad now.
Moving too fast.
This is what we talked about. If you missed it, you missed it, and you should come to our next meeting. Things are great.
Yeah.
I complete my report.
Brad, could you give a quick overview of NAGPRA for the commission?
Sure, I'll be happy to. One of the things we discussed during the Archaeology Committee meeting was the THC's responsibility to the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, which is a federal law which requires any organization defined as a museum, which is just an organization that holds human remains and receives federal funding, and requires them to inform all tribal nations with an interest in that collection that the human remains are there and to seek repatriation of them. I briefly described the small sets of human remains that we have, the efforts that THC has done to ensure that our tribal partners are well aware. We have done re-inventories, and we are continuing to work very closely with them, so we are in complete and utter compliance. In addition, Archaeology Division does provide a lot of consultation services to other groups around the state who have human remains and are trying to seek resolution under NAGPRA. And other than that, I did note that both Caddo Mounds and the Old Socorro State Historic Site have potential NAGPRA issues as we move into the future. But we will keep in close conversation with both the Caddo and Isleta del Sur in that.
Have we reached out to, let's say, university collection or private on this NAGPRA issue with the Caddo?
We've been assisting the Caddo in locating where all the collections are. So we don't have that direct responsibility under NAGPRA, so what we do is help them make those connections. So,
Yeah, I should have said it that way. I just want to make certain that when a few of us meet with the chairman of the Caddo, we've done what we're supposed to have done.
Yes.
The answer is yeah, I like that. Yep.
All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Architecture, Lori?
Pardon me. Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. We had a good meeting yesterday. The Division of Architecture, as always, up to impressive and very good work. The committee has also been busy. We've met twice, and we also met yesterday to consider our action item, which is before you. Ms. Brummett can give you an explanation if you'd like, but we're hopeful that you were listening yesterday and you're prepared to move forward with this. Let us know. If there are no questions. Yes, sir.
Move to approve policy changes for the Texas Historic Courthouse Preservation Program.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Community Heritage Development, Pete?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a fairly brief meeting yesterday, but it was very good, and we're going to try to encapsulate that a little smaller this morning and take care of our one action item after that. So I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Yes, we're going to go very quickly. We did a lot. That included Main Street activities. I just wanted to take a moment, though, to recognize Beth Duke, who has been our host this week here in Amarillo. She's been the Main Street manager for Center City for 20 years. I think we would all agree that it has been a good time, and we also appreciate the Trails Regions for being here this week with us. We're undergoing planning for next year's Real Places, which is a big thing for us. And we are looking forward to Museum on Main Street continuing, and then I'm going to pass it back to Commissioner Peterson.
Okay, and I would move to approve the fiscal year 2026 to 2027 biennial funding plan for the Texas Heritage Trails Program. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I don't know why I'm doing this. You should be
You do it.
I'll do it. All right, I'll do it. At any rate, no discussion. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pretty quiet. Sounds like the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we have a number of action items. Commissioner Crane on historic sites.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a great meeting yesterday, and again, I applaud all our historic sites folks for all the fine work they do, and believe me, there's a lot going on right now. So, Joseph, would you like to take the helm right now?
Yes.
Our Executive Director, Joseph
I'll
Bell.
go through. The first is the acquisition of a small inholding lot at the old Socorro Mission that was reviewed by the committee. And we're asking approval to move forward with that acquisition.
I will ask a member of the committee if they'd like to make the motion.
So moved.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
The second one is the acquisition of property between the Presidio and the monument from the county of Goliad. We're very eager to proceed with acquiring this portion of the property and begin our overall work on consolidating the land there to really do build a world-class destination.
It is definitely going to be world-class because it's, having spent some time there, I'm real excited about it. Motion would be move to approve the acquisition of property adjacent to Presidio La Bahia State Historic Site. That's the motion. There's a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, the next is the acquisition of the Presidio La Bahia from the Diocese of Victoria. We currently have the appropriated funds to move forward. We're working with the diocese on a warranty deed that will be forwarded on to the Vatican for approval, and we're asking the Commission for approval to move forward with the acquisition.
I'll make the motion, move to approve the acquisition of Presidio La Bahia property and associated collections from the Catholic Diocese of Victoria. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
John, if I could make a comment here.
Is that in order?
I don't know yet. The work that Joseph has done here is exemplary. When he came to me and said, well, we're going to go down to Goliad and we're going to deal with the Catholic diocese, then the county, then the city, and we're going to get all this done, I wished him a lot of luck. Joseph, that site and your staff deserve an incredible amount of thanks and gratitude, because I personally didn't think you could pull it off. And after my meeting with the county judge, I really thought you couldn't pull it off. And it's come together. It's the last real open site from the Revolution, and I want to thank you and the staff for pulling this off.
Thank you.
Just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
John?
Chairman.
Go ahead.
The next is the approval of some modifications that have been done to the Historic Infrastructure Sustainability Trust Fund for the fiscal year 2025, that we have moved some funding around so that we can expend those as quickly as possible. And then the other is the new budget that is proposed for 2026 to address some projects and commitments that we have for fundraising activities.
I'll make the motion, move to approve the revised list of projects from the Historic Infrastructure Sustainability Trust Fund for FY 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
A second is there, so any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
The next is the 2026 budget.
Would someone like to make that who's on the historic sites? Motion.
I move to approve the list of projects from the Historic Infrastructure Sustainability Trust Fund for FY 2026.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
One comment here. Joseph, I don't know who would be the one, but at the next meeting, could we have a presentation on the Historic Infrastructure Sustainability Trust Fund and the other major funding budget that we have? I've had a couple of questions last night, so let's include that in the next meeting, please.
Yes, we will.
Okay, John, thank you.
All right. The next is the interpretive master plan that was presented by Lindsay Adams on the Charles and Mary Ann Goodnight Ranch. It's a very good document that's been prepared by staff and provides a road map for the future development of that property that we're very excited to see happen.
I definitely want to make this motion. Move to authorize acceptance and approval of the interpretive master plan for the Charles and Mary Ann Goodnight State Historic Site. Is there a motion? I mean, a second? And a second discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
The next is the request to move forward with potential acquisition of a lot adjacent to the Bush family home, which we would love to have to be able to continue the development of that site.
Is there a member of the committee who'd like to make that motion?
I'll get this one, John. Move to authorize the acquisition of the property adjacent to the Bush family home state historic site.
There's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
The next is the request to move forward with the potential acquisition of 5 acres adjacent to Washington on the Brazos State Historic Sites, which is needed to provide a buffer between the improvements presently in place and the potential development around the property.
I have a question of if whether it could be answered by the site manager on this one. John? I'm curious about the status of the Stoltz property at this point in time.
And when you're talking about the Stoltz property, are you talking about immediately to the south of the Arcus?
Exactly.
She still owns the property. She still lives there. We don't have a great relationship with her. We have a better relationship with her dog. Her dog's on our property all the time. You know the history with the historic site and the Stoltz family.
This family has never liked the park, and it's a piece of property that we desperately need, I believe, to sort of complete what's not there. So, at any rate, thank you very much, John.
Yep.
Appreciate it. So, move to authorize the acquisition of the 5.79 acre property adjacent to Washington on the Brazos State Historic Site. Is there a second? Yes. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
And the final is the consideration of the modifications done to the fee structure at a number of historic sites that was presented by Thomas.
I'd like to have one of our members give that motion, who did all the work.
I move to approve the changes and additions to the existing fee schedule as recommended by the committee.
Is there a second? A second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
John, can I make comment on this real quick? Because there was some discussion yesterday about all of this. Just for the new commissioners' understanding, there is a subcommittee. This is the site's admissions fee matrix is a very complicated document. It's something on the magnitude of 27 pages or something. There is a subcommittee of commissioners that reviews this. It was decided a couple of years ago to review this. We would only do this once a year because it is a pretty arduous task to go through. So that committee meets about once a year. We're currently doing it in May so we can prepare these adjustments and changes. Staff does this based on data that they collect over the years. And so we've gotten much better at it. And so the changes that you saw yesterday and that we just approved are simply adjustments to and things that we're now recognizing, but it doesn't change the recognition of what an adult fee is, what an active service member is, what a law enforcement officer is, or a retired military. Those are all already built into the matrix, and we recognize all of those already at all of our sites, as well as the site managers have significant leeway in other cases that come up as it goes.
Mr. Vice Chairman, you've done a great job of explaining this, and those of us who participated, I think we benefited immensely from the staff. So anyway, thank you. And we have acted on this one?
No.
Already? We have not voted? Okay, good. So we have a move to approve the changes and additions to the existing fee schedule as recommended by the committee. Second?
Second. I don't think we took a vote.
Okay, we didn't do that. Okay, thank you for clarifying. So we have a motion, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Sorry. Get carried away. So exciting.
When Garrett talks, we just,
I know, it's just one of those things.
we're swept away.
Okay, John, that is your committee report?
I hope so. I hope so.
No comment.
No.
Well, we had a great meeting as always. Charles directed us. We got a lot of information. And we have 2 action items. The rest of our action items were part of the consent items. And we have a discussion which Charles can lead us through about the topics report.
Yes, just very quickly, 14.2 is about our marker application cycle this year. We received 139 applications. We are canceling 16 of them, mostly for reason of insufficient narrative. We have 20 RTHLs among the new applications this year. And after this meeting, we'll be emailing these folks to let them know if they've received a marker for 2025 or if they will not be receiving one and why. And then we'll be asking for payment. Are there any questions about this before we move on to the motion items? The first motion item here is the work plan for 2027 marker application cycle. Everything basically remains the same. We just shift the years and we add new thematic priorities. And we have a motion.
I'll go ahead and move to approve staff recommendations for qualified official Texas historical marker applications and adopt a work plan to complete no more than 185 new historical markers in calendar year 2027.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Oh, sorry.
One comment. Since we are limiting the number, and these normally come through the county historical commissions, my recommendation is we send a notice out
Oh, yes.
to the commissions around the state. It'll speed it up, and we'll be on the record of saying that's as many as we're going to put out, so that everybody's on notice. But I would recommend we send that letter out sooner rather than later.
A notice about the limit of markers we'll be accepting each year.
Pardon?
A notice about the limit of
The
markers.
number, yeah.
Absolutely, we will do that. The final item here, 14.4, is State Board of Review appointments. We are asking for reappointment of 4 members and appointment of 1 new member, and that is all in one motion.
I move to approve the State Historic Preservation Officer's recommendations to appoint Virginia Kelsey, to reappoint Kenna Lang Archer, Brian Ingrazia, Jeffrey Leiber, and Paula Lupkin to the State Board of Review.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
And I think we're done. Thank you, Charles.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Joseph, and I'll wrap it up. Joseph, you want to go, or the lawyer?
You want to go, Kristen, give your legal review?
Sure, Commissioners, since the last meeting, the only legal item I wanted to bring to your attention is that we did receive a claim from an individual who was injured at the Varner Hog Plantation, and we have referred that claim to the Attorney General's office for handling. And that is the end of my report.
All right.
Joseph, I think we were going to.
Mike?
Oh. Yeah, I believe we have some action items in the executive.
No, it's not. It's just a redundant, for the edification of our new members. Kristen was going to give them just a bullet point on the social media policy changes.
Correct. Do you have that?
Yes, my apologies. On the social media policy, at the last meeting, we reported that we had updated our social media policy, and the reason for doing so was to clarify to all of our users that when they are actively engaged on social media, on their personal sites, their personal social media accounts, that it is not in representation of the agency, and they should disclaim any statements that they are not speaking on behalf of the agency if they're talking about anything related to THC on their personal social media platforms. Also, you see on the screen that, just as a reminder, TikTok is banned on all state electronic devices, and that the agency reserves the right to remove comments that are made on any of the agency's social media platforms.
Thank you.
Does any commissioner have any comments on this, since it's topical? None. Silence is golden. Thank you.
All right, we want to go back and get the approval on the executive committee report. And I'll ask Joy to come up.
So as I mentioned in my comments earlier this morning, our commission voted on some recommendations for educational grants. And what I have before you is to consider voting to approve these educational grants.
They have what's the funding?
Their funding is appropriated directly to their commission.
So moved. Yes, I move to approve the recommended funding of the high scoring applications for the THG AAC education grant.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next.
Anjali?
Okay, Anjali.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, we have two action items. The first one is the review and approval of projects requiring private funds in excess of $50,000 for fiscal 2026. You have the list of projects in your packets, and they were reviewed by the committee yesterday. So we're requesting approval.
So I move to approve the projects as presented and to request that the Friends proceed with the fundraising.
Second. Motion and a second. This is what's called a no-brainer. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I hope not. Yeah, passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And the second item is a request to confirm the reappointment of 5 commission appointees to the Friends of the THC Board of Trustees. Jane Cook Barnhill, Laretha Clay, Bonnie McKee, Joe Thrash, welcome Wilson Jr., and accept the resignation of Christine Navarro McElhaney.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the approval of the strategic plan for the agency fiscal year 2025 to 2029. That was reviewed prior.
Pardon?
It was reviewed at the committee level.
All right.
So I move to approve the THC strategic plan for fiscal year 2025, 2029.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now, a question to the new commissioners. Did they all get a copy of the plan?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. 15-6.
This one is actually tabled. The governor's office has not finished their review and has asked us to table this.
Thank you. Okay, Joseph, Executive Director's report.
All right. Just to bring everyone up to speed on the 11 new staff members in each of the divisions are noted on the screen. We have administration, staff, Friends of the THC, history programs, historic sites. Those are all new employees. And then the next is the continuation of historic site staff that have been employed recently. Next, just an overview that I've been meeting on a regular basis with the Port Isabel in regards to their expansion of their visitor center. Of course, we've been continued conversations with the Bishop of Victoria, the Chairman Bobby Gonzalez at Caddo Mounds, and then also ongoing conversations with the Governor's office. The next is just an overview of recent attended events. We've had 2 galas. We had the Washington on the Brazos fundraising gala called the Sundown Social. The Governor's Mansion Gala was also held that we attended. There was 2 other out-of-state conferences, the American Association of Museums Conference in Los Angeles, and the NICSPO Summer Board meeting in Denver, which was very informative as we kind of worked towards issues concerning federal funding. The next is just ongoing, upcoming events that I've got planned. We're going to continue conversations with the Caddo Nation. Once we get the MOU signed and approved by once we get it approved by the Governor's office, we'll be coordinating a signing ceremony in Binger, Oklahoma. Once we get things finalized with the county, we'll get that finalized. And then we're looking at an event in December 20th, which is the anniversary of the 190th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence at the Presidio, which not a lot of people know about before it was forwarded on to Washington on the Brazos. So we have a number of other items. We've got the site managers meeting coming up in September in Austin, and then we have the Heritage Trail meeting, which will be next week, actually. Will be August 6th, 7th, and 8th. So we're looking forward to that. Next. The chairman just wanted to give it a quick overview of the federal funding that we receive. We receive $1.9 million every year in our federal grant to address our operations, to address Section 106, tax incentives, certified local governments, and we are awarded that grant this year. There's a question on whether funding would be available next year with the federal, but we are monitoring activities in Washington and planning accordingly. Next. The omnibus bill, just a quick overview. Robert went into this, and this is just a quick one that reassured that within the omnibus bill, it allowed the executive director to make certain provisions so that we can quickly move into contracting if we did not receive adequate bids in rural locations. We received the Centennial Civil War markers as part of our stewardship. And then we also were able to codify our relationship with THC Friends. Next, we were able to update our list of inventory of historic sites, which we will have to do every biennium. We were also able to have put into statute that we have to coordinate with the commission on all interpretive planning and exhibits. We were able to strengthen our retail operational statute and really clarify our auxiliary funds and how they can be used. And then we were able to form the Washington on the Brazos as another affiliate program partner that we are working diligently with to formalize that operating agreement there to strengthen operations on site. A quick overview, of course, we've received $100 million for the courthouse program, $12 million for the National Museum of the Pacific War, $8.5 million for the Presidio. First Capital in West Columbia, that was $2.4 million. And then just a quick overview of the FTEs that we received. We received 1 additional tax credit reviewer, 16 additional FTEs for historic sites, and 5 in general administration. Historic trails, we received another $600,000 each year to help in their operations, the IT modernization, the vehicle purchase, and then we had targeted compensation allowed for certain classifications in architecture, archaeologists, maintenance supervisors, administrative specialists. And I believe that's everything.
Well, as Robert said, and I seconded that, this is a landmark legislative session, and my only encouragement here is you've now, Joseph, you and the staff have attained a new level. Between now and the next session, you got to keep it up.
Right.
There's just no question about it. Now, comment, you all just there was just handed out, it looks like a golf course map. Well, what this is the park in Houston, Memorial Park. Probably 99.9% of the Houstonians don't know why it's called Memorial Park. The Kinder Foundation of Rich and Nancy have taken it on to improve the park generally. Access, they've created down in the bottom left-hand a most incredible access way. They moved the road and created 2 tunnels. They are serious about this. I was asked if we would consider putting up major markers around the site to talk about the training camp and the events that happened there during the First World War. So Joseph and his team have been involved in the planning. There are 3 sites located in the blue. There will be more. I just want to thank Joseph and the staff, and I'll personally thank the Kinders for including us. Cities involved, mayors involved. It's a big project within the city. And I told Joseph that I would comment on what I know is going on in the Department of Interior on these cuts. I would suggest to the staff, it's not time to hang crepe out yet. There's a great deal of discussion about Interior in general. It involves every member of Congress. Everyone has some forest, park, or other entity that falls under Interior. I do know that there's a discussion of a major site going into the Dakotas, a couple of other sites in the West that are being considered. So I would not immediately run out with I'd have a concern, but it shouldn't be terminal. And I have, 3 weeks ago, I met with the secretary and the key person on his staff, who's from Houston, who I've known for years, is overseeing this. So I'll report as I learn more, but while, you go from green to yellow to red, we're somewhere in that area between green and yellow. And as I learn more, I'll pass it on. Does anyone have anything else? Am I forgetting anything? All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. And for those that are leaving town, it's 11:01. Thank you.